Across the government and delivery partners, there is a greater focus on risk-sharing arrangements on major projects. In asset-intensive organizations, regulatory assurance is no longer a periodic compliance exercise. It's becoming a continuous evidence-driven capability because enforcement is active, reporting expectations are expanding, and the cost of getting it wrong shows up in finances, operations, and reputation. Most organizations don't fail because they ignore regulation. They fail because obligations are fragmented, evidence is inconsistent, and assurance depends on heroic effort right before audits. That creates cost, fatigue, and blind spots, especially across large asset portfolios when executives have limited resources and budget to work across the function. We're seeing three trend lines. First, enforcement remains active and outcomes are increasingly visible. Second, reporting scope, especially sustainability and climate, has expanded, but rules and thresholds can shift, creating rework. Third, regulators and auditors are pushing for traceable evidence, an obligation to control to prove. This hits people first: constant evidence requests and audit fire drills. Then the organization duplicated reporting, had inconsistent narratives, and slower decisions. Finally, there is more rework, disruption risk, and potentially penalties. For example, the Australian energy regulator reports federal court penalties totaling $25 million in overcharging cases, an illustration of how real the financial exposure can be. Even when organizations aim to do the right thing, reporting can become heavy. A 2025 Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development paper found complexity and cost among the top concerns, with most companies expecting ESG reporting costs to increase. And Australia's Treasury Analysis acknowledges ongoing annual burden due to data sourcing and scenario analysis. These are common failure modes: registers that aren't connected to operations, controls not mapped to evidence, inconsistent artifact quality, unclear accountability, and no single source of truth when auditors or incidents arrive. Regulatory assurance isn't one thing. In asset-intensive environments, it spans licenses, safety, environment, maintenance proof, supplier compliance, and board-ready reporting, each requiring traceable evidence. The opportunity is to shift from episodic audits to continuous assurance, where obligations, controls, and evidence are connected and current. That reduces surprises and creates decision-grade confidence. This is exactly where Smart Assurance's regulatory assurance module fits, turning obligations into an operational system classified, risk-rated, mapped to controls, linked to evidence, and assigned to accountable owners, so reporting becomes faster and audits become predictable. Once that foundation exists, you can do more. Understand regulatory change impact across asset classes, automate evidence refresh, answer regulator questions fast, manage compliance health across portfolios, and close the loop from findings to control uplift. If you operate assets, regulation is part of performance. Regulatory assurance done well reduces risk, cost, and disruption, and increases decision confidence. To learn more about how regulatory assurance can be operationalized in asset-intensive organizations, visit the Delanta website. You'll find practical insights, use cases, and details on how Smart Assurance supports continuous audit-ready compliance.